Yankees Files podcast. We are back. I'm Will Harris, you're Alex Whipple, and the rest of you are fans of the team with the highest WRC plus in baseball, the team with the best record in the American League, the team that is leading the AL East, the only team with Gleyber Torres. That team is, of course, the New York Yankees. Whipple, we have a ton to get into on this episode, including the Jason Dominguez situation, the Alex Verdugo situation, some concerns about the pitching staff that have come to pass or come to light, whatever the appropriate expression is. Yeah. Anyway, it's September 2nd. The Irish are undefeated. Before we get started, how are you doing?
I guess it also could become to pass. Like if you had the concerns that they manifested, but they've also been discovered. So
yeah,
I'll give it to you on both accounts.
Thank you.
I'm doing well. I feel like, you know what, like the only team with Gleyber Torres, sure, but the only team with Austin Wells, I feel like Austin Wells is the man of the week.
That's a great point.
In a Judge and Soto relative slump week. So Austin Wells, and with the TikTok that came out, I mean, I feel like it was kind of the week of Austin Wells. So I'm happy we have that to hang our hat on. I'm doing well. I know I was saying you've been traveling around a lot. I've kind of been stationary. I managed to get up to DC to see the Yankees. And so I know we'll talk more, but you're in Texas going to see the Yankees tonight. So we're putting in the work to see them on the road. You know, you can't say that we don't do the work for the fans to get out there, boots on the ground, and see how things are going. But not the best week of Yankees baseball. And I feel like I also just said to you, this probably was the week. I think it was a combination of seeing Carlos Rodon meltdown in DC in 100-degree weather and then sitting and watching whatever happened yesterday on TV. This is the week I'm finally willing to say this pitching staff concerns me more than the offense. And I'm definitely the one between the two of us who always kind of has the concerns more about the offense than the pitching. And I think this is the week that broke me. And especially yesterday, I mean, when we see a team come back from a 5-run deficit and then immediately go back to giving those 5 runs up, I mean, that's just deflating. And everything you said is true. And I think the fact that you have been, saying this is the team with the highest WRC plus, offensive based statistics are really what we are trying to promote. And that just hides the fact that the pitching staff is really not getting it done. And we can talk about Jason Dominguez and Alex Verdugo, but at the end of the day, this is an above average offense. And I feel like we've seen that over and over again. The problem is the pitching staff. And well, I mean, if you want to start there, like what can be done to fix this train wreck?
So I think there are a few things that I really have my eye on when it comes to the pitching staff. First is that there are starting pitchers on this team who I believe in. I believe in Garrett Cole. I even believe in Nestor Cortez. I believe that it wouldn't be weird for Carlos Rodon to shove at any given moment, just given the strikeout to walk performance that he's put up in the last 2.5 months. It's 11.8 K per nine, 3.66 walks per nine in that span. Is he giving up way too much hard contact? Yes. Is he giving up too many home runs? Yes. Has he probably been a little bit xFIP unlucky in that span? Also, yes. So Rodon, I feel like I'm more taking a flyer. Nestor, I think, has been steadier than he's gotten credit for. That comes through in Fangraphs WAR. I think, obviously his start yesterday was not any good, but prior to that, he had obviously the 3 phenomenal starts in a row. His season numbers are still more than fine for what you'd expect from him. And then, honestly, I find it a little bit embarrassing to admit this, but I had a dream last night about Clarke Schmidt pitching for the Yankees.
That's what we talk about dreams on this podcast. That's accepted.
Yeah, but normally they're not mine. So, like, I'm excited about getting him back. I think the starting pitching can come together in a way that is good enough to carry the Yankees, or, not to erase the contributions that the Yankees get from their offense. I have concerns about the bullpen, but my concerns about the bullpen are not about, like, I don't want to call out Joey, but I'm sure people saw it on Twitter. He said something along the lines of, like, I'm done with Tommy Kahnle. It's like, all right, Tommy Kahnle uh went from July 5th to yesterday without giving up multiple runs in an appearance. While the underlying numbers weren't incredible over the span, he had a 0.47 ERA from July 9th to August 30th. He has a 2.06 ERA on the season. Uh, there's some concerning strikeout to walk stuff, in his last couple months, but his results have, on the whole, been quite good. I know people have had positive things to say about the quality of his pitches. Clay Holmes, not a guy who gets shelled. Luke Weaver, not generally a guy who gets shelled. Like, I think in the playoffs, when the only mandate is to give the ball to the most effective out getters as long as a game is competitive, I think the Yankees have enough guys who are capable of doing that. But I worry about getting from now until the end of the season. And I worry a little bit about what happens if a guy that you have slated to be a very effective outgetter doesn't deliver in that regard. Like, if, God forbid there were an injury, or if Tommy Kahnle were to become unreliable, or, we're seeing it right now with Ian Hamilton getting scratched from a rehab assignment, and, who knows what that means for his return, or Scott Efros coming up and getting shelled. Like, the Yankees do need some reinforcements. And it's not clear to me, like, they need things to go well in order for those reinforcements to work out well. So, yeah, I think the Yankees can put together a staff that effectively gets those outs just based on the quality of guys they have available. But that's by no means a guarantee from me that those guys will get those outs. And I think that's where my concern comes from. And also, Luis Heel could have done something, and now we don't know what we're getting from him. Clarke Schmidt could have been a really good piece. Now we don't know what we're going to get from him. Ian Hamilton, we expected to get back. Now we don't know what we're going to get from him. So it's like, even when healthy, I had my reservations about this pitching staff and its depth and everything. And with the way things have shaken out since then, I've just gotten a little bit more concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of my concern too is like in 2022 in the playoffs, like they were getting, I mean, I think 2022 Garrett Cole, 2022 Nestor Cortez, 2022 Luis Severino, all arguably better pitchers than like either the current versions or, Luis Severino compared to like Carlos Rodon. And I know, I mean, the playoffs, I mean, I still contend a lot of the pitching staff issues in 2022 started popping up when the schedule got messed up. And like, if that team remained on schedule, I think at least like things would have been, you wouldn't have had to have Jameson Taillon pitch in the ALCS as early as he did. So like, the point is like, I feel like the counterparts in 2022, starting wise, allowed the Yankees to really key in on Holmes, Peralta, Loaizaga, and I feel like there's one other person. Oh, Trevino. Those were like the four. And yeah, I think they have, Holmes, Weaver, Kahnle, like Jake Cousins. Sure, like you might be able to be somewhat close. I still don't think it's as good as 2022, but I feel like you said, all of this is like kind of best case scenario. And if something goes wrong, or you got to go, you have a short outing, then you have to go into a pool of guys that just don't really make as much, they don't strike out as much guys. They don't make as much sense in high leverage. The unknown to me is like how the rotation shapes up and what will happen to the guys, because ostensibly they're going to have 6 healthy starters by the weekend. So
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly, like, can Luis Heel pitch in the bullpen in the playoffs? Will Clarke Schmidt be a playoff reliever? Can Marcus Stroman pitch? And like, what will those bridge guys look like? And I think that is kind of the X factor. I mean, we've seen it with teams all the time turn starters into good playoff relievers. I mean,
Yep,
Chris
sure.
Sale being like the example that comes to mind, but it happens all the
Yeah,
time.
there was, what was it, 3 times in 4 years we saw the last out of the World Series. It was Chris Sale, Charlie Morton, and Urias.
Yeah. And
Get
like,
as though the starter was out there getting the last out.
right. So you never know for sure, but with the pool of guys, yeah, it's a lot has to go right. And I think you're right in that like there are certain guys not to worry about. It's really just, when will those guys pitch? Like what's the construction look like? Even this year, I mean, as much as people, rag on Clay Holmes, I just think the performance from, undeservedly so, because I think the performance from the lower level guys that's the issue. And even lower level being like guys who, the fourth, fifth, sixth relievers, like guys who could pitch playoff innings. I mean, right now, like what I want to know, I think it would be interesting for us both to say, like, what's if the playoffs started today, what's your alignment? Because I feel like I'm going back and forth in so many ways. And like to me, like I don't know what the four starters are and which two starters go to the bullpen. And that, like, I want to say, Clarke Schmidt, Luis Heel makes sense to go to the bullpen, but I don't know. I
If
mean, is
Clarke
that
Schmidt can start games, I need him to start games.
right? Like, I don't know. I mean, Clarke Schmidt is still like fourth, fifth, or sixth on WAR in Baseball Reference because, the guy, no one else has done as well as he did in the first 2 months. So, like, he had a really good first 2 months. What kind of do you envision this looking like?
So, supposing Clarke Schmidt in each of his 2 rehab appearances has faced 13 batters. Supposing Clarke Schmidt can do that, I'm fine with him as a starter, and maybe that's the role for Marcus Stroman, either as an opener or a piggyback for Clarke Schmidt. So I would have Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Nestor Cortez, Clarke Schmidt, and then, yeah, I think Heel or Stroman available as a piggyback for Schmidt. And I would have, I think my 4 most trusted guys out of the bullpen in ascending order would be Cousins, Canely, Weaver, Holmes.
So you think Ian Hamilton is just?
We don't know if he's even going to be there at this point, so I don't feel like I can put him there. If he's around, could he get into that Cousins Canely tier? Sure. But Ian Hamilton not only needs to be available, he also needs to be throwing strikes. It's just I get very concerned about like the knock the rust off period, and with a scratch, is there going to be enough time? So yeah, I think it's those guys.
My 2 big questions are: can Mark Leiter Jr. get back into that mix? And is there a situation in which Luis Heel is like pitching high leverage innings in a late game playoff?
Oh, see, so the Mark Leiter situation for me is, I feel like nothing explains his performance in the last like 3 weeks other than that they must be tinkering, because he is leaving stuff out over the plate. He's walking a ton of guys. He's giving up a ton of homers, but he's still, he's getting more strikeouts than he did before. So there must be, and I don't know what it is. There are smarter people about pitching than I who can, tell you more about this stuff, but it doesn't make sense to me that he, like, it doesn't make sense to me that there's an explanation other than he's tinkering with something, whether it's grip or shape. I notice, like, if you go on his Savant page, since he joined the Yankees, he's been throwing the sweeper a lot less, the curveball a lot more, the splitter, which used to be his most common pitch, less, the cutter, which he was throwing almost not at all when he showed up, he's now throwing more. So, like, I don't know what's going on there, but they must be tinkering with something, and I hope they find it, because a guy who can miss bats like that is really valuable. But with the way that he's just gotten shelled recently, I think it's hard for him to work his way back into that conversation. And then on Luis Heel, like, maybe. I think the question for him is there another level that he can find of bat missing by just throwing one inning at max effort? Because a guy who walks, 4.7 per nine or whatever it is for him raises some concerns for me as a reliever, because that can get you into a lot of cluster luck trouble. You put a couple guys on, we know how important the home run is in the playoffs, and suddenly, you've really changed the game. So the notion of like electric swing and miss guy coming out of the bullpen, awesome. The notion of guy who you expect to put some runners on coming in out of the bullpen, a little bit more concerning for me. But as I said, if, look, man, you're just going to go one inning, we just need max effort, we're only going to ask you for 3 outs. If that unlocks something for him, I'm open to it. But also there's the situation where they need him to throw multiple innings, whether it's in a piggyback, whether it's as a true starter. Like, it's just, I don't know, between health and trust, I have a lot of concerns about the quality of the pitching staff.
I think my maybe somewhat bold, not so bold prediction is the 6 start. If there are 6 starters healthy this weekend, there will be one of them will not be healthy by the first game of the playoffs. I mean, I feel like
that's a safe bet.
I feel like it's always how it is. And I think, I agree with everything you're saying. I think everything you're saying makes me affirm that, like, I don't want Marcus Stroman in any high leverage playoff spot, start or otherwise, because, he's walking about a batter less per 9 innings than Heel, and he's striking out 4 batters less per 9 innings.
Yeah.
And clearly, like, strikeout to walk ratio is by far and away the worst on the 6 potential starters of the Yankees. And really, it's the worst out of, like, most people they're throwing out of the bullpen anyway. So, like, it's just not, I mean, yeah, I know he's been better for sure, but it's just, when push comes to shove, I just don't think if anything, if any role he has, it needs to be, like you said, as a piggyback or like a low leverage guy. And I don't know. I mean, we've seen the Yankees, their alliance to veterans over, the younger guys. But in the playoffs, I think, like, clearly, like, you just got to put the best guys out there. And, like, you have, if everybody is healthy, then I think he's the odd man out in terms of, like, where he'll pitch. I mean, I think they all will pitch, but it'll be interesting for sure. And Heel is the one who intrigues me just based on, like, what we've seen. But I'm just curious, like, do you think they're gonna keep just starting him like we're back to the way things were? Like, he's coming back and he's throwing starts, or do you think they're, how they use him is gonna overplay or play their hand a little bit?
It's a really good question. I feel like I would be, I don't think we're going to learn much about his intended playoff role from the way he's used for the balance of this month. And I say that because I think the Yankees have really struggled to find competent starting pitching recently, either through bad performances from guys they will rely on or from just a lack of availability. Will Warren, for all the stuff that's been made about him, like, should never have been in this position this year with how this year has gone for him in the minors. And it took Clayton Beeter and Cody Poteet and Clarke Schmidt and Luis Heel, all going down, and probably Chase Hampton as well, for him to end up in the situation in which he found himself. So just based on that, I don't know that they have the flexibility not to not to just put him back in the rotation and see what they can get out of him. But as I said, I don't expect that the manner in which he's used for the balance of this month will be an indicator of how he's going to be used in the playoffs. And I don't want to compare him to like Isaiah Kiner Falefa in that regard, but that's another guy who was used in a certain way in the regular season and then very much not in that way in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, two other observations before we move on. I think the Yankees really missed Jonathan Loaisiga. Like,
Sure.
he would have filled a pretty big hole and I think clicked a lot more of this into place. The other thing is, and again, it's funny to me that it shows you how good Juan Soto is, because it's funny that I thought like I'd see one or two people say, well, they gave up so much pitching depth to trade Soto. And the fact that no one has said that shows to just how important Juan Soto is. But I'm going to say, you make that trade 100 times out of 100, but it is a really tough thing to trade away. I'm not going to count Drew Thorpe, but 3 of your big pitchers in the pitching depth. And I think you're seeing what it does to the pitching staff. Again, there's no regret, and it's something the Yankees would do 100 times out of 100. But it is interesting to me. Like, at the time, I think I didn't really fully understand, like, trading about a third of like your starting depth is a pretty big deal. And the shortcomings the Yankees face would, I think, be a lot easier with those pitchers. Having said that, the fact that no one has said it, I think shows that I think, Juan Soto is Juan Soto. But just an interesting observation. I think the real world effects of, like, on paper, a move you do, you don't really think about it until, you're starting Will Warren and Cody Petit and everything. But Juan Soto is one of the most important players in baseball. And I think the Yankees will figure it out. And, Michael King and those guys are great, but you're not replacing Juan Soto.
Should we talk about something that Juan Soto has struggled with?
Sure. Defense?
He can't go back on the ball.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Like, it happened so many times in a row.
Yeah, so he had the ball that Joey Gallo hit to the scoreboard in Washington, which was rated at an 80% catch probability. He had the ball, the 3-run double to the wall by Lars Nootbaar that was rated as a 75% catch probability. I haven't been able to find the ball that was hit to, there it is, 99% catch probability on the Brendan Donovan double that he just, like, it was not at all clear where he was going, and he wasn't really in the neighborhood of the ball when it came down. By outs above average, they claim he's only -3 going back on the ball. It doesn't feel all that true to me. But it also puts him, among the worst in baseball at going back on the ball. I think, like, if the Yankees find themselves playing in a place like Houston, can you really not put Juan Soto in left field? Like, they're at some point, the team that has deployed Aaron Judge in center field because of his abilities as an outfielder has to understand that with outs at a premium, with the concerns that they have about the pitching staff, putting Juan Soto in a place where he is not good defensively when they could stash him elsewhere may not give them the best chance to win, right?
Right. And I mean, it's not like even with Judge where he never played center or has never played left now. Like, Soto played left all of last year, so I don't think it's crazy. And that definitely, I don't think a Soto, I mean, objectively, I think a Soto Grisham Judge alignment is pretty good. Even I think in the Yankees' eyes, that should be something they're willing to deploy. And
definitely that leads us to a different conversation as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, maybe this opens up like the left field general conversation, but I think they would be open to it. I mean, we've definitely seen them make those kind of moves in the playoffs, like having Stanton play the outfield at certain times, which is advantageous based on the field. I think if it's Houston, I feel like like maybe they'll be extra motivated to do it. But I mean, there's definitely nothing in my mind that would limit that, like, especially with his experience. And that probably does lead to the other conversation.
Yeah. So we have to talk about Alex Verdugo, who this is a sample that I chose just to make Trent Grisham look good. But since June 19th, in 258 plate appearances, Alex Verdugo is hitting 203, 268, 286 for a 58 WRC plus. Over that same span, Trent Grisham is hitting 226, 314, 415 for a 104 WRC plus in 122 plate appearances. One of these guys is an elite outfield defender. One of these guys is fine. They both bat left-handed. One of them can make it so Aaron Judge doesn't have to play center field. It's really, I don't understand it. I know Aaron Judge likes Alex Verdugo and thinks that having a guy who makes a bunch of contact is really important. Aaron Judge is wrong about this. Aaron Judge should not have input on roster decisions. And Alex Verdugo has been actively hurting the Yankees for the vast majority of the time that he's been on the Yankees. And we don't have to even address the Dominguez conversation to have the Alex Verdugo conversation, because like the solution is on the roster. Alex Verdugo has been the second worst qualified player in baseball since June 19th. Negative 0.5 Fangraphs WAR. His 58 WRC plus is second to last in baseball in that time. Like, it's just untenable. He is not adding any value to this baseball team. He is actively taking it away. And as I said, doesn't have to be Jason Dominguez who replaces him. It could be Jazz Chisholm. It could be Oswaldo Cabrera. It could be Trent Grisham. Those guys are all on the roster right now. And look, there are some takes on Yankees Twitter that I can't say I agree with about the measures that should be taken if Alex Verdugo remains in the lineup and all of that, but they're making the wrong decision. And I don't have an explanation for it. I know they like him, but there is nothing to like. There's nothing there. And like, this isn't even a victory lap for me not liking Alex Verdugo or something. Like, this is just, you have a guy who's legitimately been the worst American League player who has gotten consistent playing time for almost 3 months now. There is no reason to keep running him out there. He is not a good hitter. His defense does not come close to making up for that. He isn't, he's bringing nothing to the table. And I don't understand their dedication to him. I don't like their dedication to him. It's hurting the team. And when they have multiple guys better suited to play that position on the roster and add value, or at least not take away value, it just really makes me question what the thesis behind all this is.
Yeah, I think the victory lap was probably, it's like 2 months past the victory lap. But I mean, at this point, you're right. It doesn't benefit anyone. And I think we've seen that DJ LeMahieu clearly doesn't have a job now because Anthony Rizzo took the job back.
Yep.
And is, if they, I guess it's stupid to me that like the evaluations seem to hinge on like, things that like inconsequential things. I mean, like DJ LeMahieu was playing every day and was deemed to be good enough to keep playing until, suddenly he wasn't. Like it. And Alex Verdugo is kind of the same way. Like it doesn't, like, at least see what you have. If we were running the team, I feel like if a player is not good, you try something else. And if that thing doesn't work, you try something else. And to the Yankees, it's like, okay, like, you just do this with these certain guys. And we've seen it with, an IKF or a Donaldson until your hand gets forced. And it's not even a money thing now. I mean, the money, he's a free agent. The money is.
Yeah, they own like $50 over the rest of the season.
I don't even think they should cut him. I mean, I think he has value in
pinch runner, defensive replacement.
Right.
He's a fine guy to have around on a playoff roster as long as you're not asking him to take consequential plate appearances.
Right. And so why not just see, even like you said, without even bringing Dominguez up, but to get to the Dominguez of it all, there's just no reason not to see what Dominguez can do. I think people view it as like, if he doesn't hit like the way he did, he's a bust. But like, wouldn't you want to know that like what kind of his level is before making a decision? Or is it just, are we at the point where it's not even going to be a Dominguez decision? Because to me, like, yeah, I think anyone adds more value than Verdugo. But if you have this X factor, like, wouldn't you at least want to open the box and see? Because like John Birdie at third and Jazz in the outfield, or Oswaldo, like these are all, I feel like, incremental upgrades. And I feel like if they made those upgrades, you look and say, okay, well, it's better than Verdugo because Verdugo was absolute nothing. But
I'm kind of excited about John Birdie at third and Chisholm in the outfield, but I'm
4 years
with
old
you.
and lower body injury. Like
yeah.
I know Dominguez is probably not going to sustain what he did last September, but wouldn't you want to know? Like, that's what I don't get. Like, wouldn't you just want to see? And if everything goes to crap, then like play Verdugo, like be stubborn and play Verdugo. But like, I want to just know that the decision-making process was taken with all of the results in mind, even if you make the wrong decision. In this case, they're not even exploring the other possibilities, which makes it even more egregious.
So I agree with you in the sense that they should be trying a lot of things that aren't Alex Verdugo. What I will say about Jason Dominguez is there isn't a lot to like in his minor league performance since he came back in July. A 310 expected weighted on base with a 32% hard hit rate is really, really nothing special, especially in the offensive environment of AAA. He has a 94 WRC plus in that time. I understand that he's been hotter more recently, specifically in like the last 2.5 weeks. But as I was saying to someone earlier today, if you were making the decision about Dominguez in a vacuum, and the only question was about his development as a player, there would be an argument not to call him up. It's not like he's ripping the cover off the ball in AAA. He is still struggling mightily to hit right-handed. Like, there's a lot of stuff about Jason Dominguez that you could say, this is a red flag. He's young. He's hardly played baseball in the last year. We need to give him some more time. Now, that decision is not made in a vacuum. And Alex Verdugo is a huge problem. And Jason Dominguez, like, suppose Jason Dominguez isn't a better outfield option than Trent, Jazz, or Oswaldo. He's still a better option than Verdugo. And I totally understand the ire that the Yankees have drawn from a lot of fans of, you guys aren't putting the best players on your roster and you're not putting the best players on your roster on the field. And you're so right, to point out the Rizzo LeMahieu situation, because something let them decide that DJ didn't have it and they made a change. How have we not gotten to that point with Verdugo? That you're asking exactly the right question. And again, whether it's Dominguez or whether it's not, whether you're making the Dominguez development decision in a vacuum without the context of what's going on the big league roster or not, he is not the only option to be playing instead of Verdugo. And the fact that we haven't seen anyone else get an extended shot at that job really doesn't make sense.
Right. And yeah, I guess like I just feel like, and I know he's been injured. I know like it's not been the best year developmentally, but if you thought last year, again, different situation, but we're going to continue his development at the major league level, which is clear. Like that is a way to approach prospects. If you feel like they have more development, continue it at the major league level. And now it's like, we're not even going to give him any sort of like a look. And the look could be like, come up for a week or two and then send him back down. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just off base. Maybe I'm giving into like the desire to just see Verdugo not play. But if you're going to bring up Dominguez for one game, bat him fifth against the AL potential Cy Young front runner, and then send him down, like these are the mixed messaging here from this year and last year. It's just it's a lot to process. Like I'm not criticizing the Yankees the way they handle prospects. I think they actually do a pretty good job compared to like what a lot of people think. But this, like, I think you're right. In like the larger context, sure, developmentally, maybe this is what they feel like is best. But in the larger context, like that shows they don't want to put the best team on the field. And that's just like, that's painful to watch. And I know Duke Ellis is not, the guy who's going to be playing. And I know he's probably going to get DFA'd for Birdie, but it's just the mental image, the irony of calling up Duke Ellis over Jason Dominguez. I feel like that just symbolizes like what, the tragedy of what is going on in left field right now. And
Duke is a great baseball name though.
It is. It's just, it's one of those guys, nothing special, but
but look, if he's nothing special, but he's always killing you, that could do something.
Well, I do have a quick Duke Ellis question. So because they brought him up, and then if they send him down, like, are they bringing him up so he can be eligible for the postseason roster?
So you only have to be on the 40-man to be eligible for the postseason roster, which means that because he has options, never actually had to be called up. I think that we've just seen for years that the Yankees like having a pinch runner, Tim LeCastro type when rosters expand, and I expect that Ellis will be the corresponding move for Birdie when he's back.
Freddie Guzman,
exactly.
He made it the whole way through 2009. I think I'm pretty sure he was on every round.
I think he may have been. I think he definitely may have been. He appeared in 2 games in the ALCS, so that seems to be, I think he was on the World Series roster. We could go check one of those T-shirts that has all 25 guys. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Wait, who scored on Jeter's final walk?
Antoine Richardson.
Yeah, that's the other guy.
Who's now a base coach somewhere. I think for the Mets. I was asking some of our Mets fan friends. Pete Alonso got on base in like a pivotal situation for the Mets a few games ago, and he's out there at first base, giving his leg guard and elbow guard or whatever to Antoine Richardson. So I texted the Crosstown Sports crew and I said, who would you rather have running the bases right now, Pete Alonso or first base coach Antoine Richardson? I think the answer is clear.
I think that's our winter draft. Draft the designated pinch runners for the last 20 Yankees postseason rosters. Yeah, Rico Noel, isn't that another guy?
Rich Christmas? Rico Noel? Hell yeah.
Anyway, sorry, very off topic, but yeah.
So anyway, I think they like having a pinch runner type. I think John Birdie becomes that guy when he's healthy, but I think that's why Duke Ellis is there.
Yeah.
Or
trivia Ellis is the answer in left field, and we're just, it's all
that could be. So since June 13th, Aaron Judge has a 231 WRC plus. I don't want to lose sight of how phenomenal Aaron Judge has been, even though he had a slow week. Jazz Chisholm is third on the Yankees in that time in WRC plus with a 190 WRC plus since he joined the team. He's followed by Soto at 175, Wells at 150, and Stanton at 135. Minimum 1 plate appearance. Who do you think is second in that group?
Wait, what was Jazz's number?
Jazz is 190. Judge is 231. So there's someone in between them.
So minimum 1 plate appearance. So I'm guessing it's going to be a very low. Oh, geez. Who? What position?
No.
I don't know.
It's someone currently on the 26-man roster.
Oh, currently like on the team right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not like it's Taylor Trammell or
Right. That's
Oswald Peraza or anything like that.
currently on the 26-man roster, but it's not Wells or Jazz. Who is on this team?
This player has a 204 WRC plus since June 13th.
It's not Soto.
Soto's 175.
And they're currently on the roster.
Currently on the 26-man roster, one of the position players. It's not Duke Ellis either.
Is it Rizzo?
It's Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo has he has 19 plate appearances in that span, but he was like he had a few like hottish games before he got shut down. Yeah, it was June 13th against the Royals. He was 1 for 3 with a walk and a homer. Next day against the Red Sox, he had 2 singles and a walk. Next day against the Red Sox, he had 2 walks. Next day against the Red Sox, he didn't do anything, and then he comes back with 2 hits, including a double. So that's a 204 WRC plus in his last 19 plate appearances. So hey, if Anthony Rizzo keeps playing like that, the infield situation is solved.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Like, what do you think? Do you think he can do it?
Oh, I have extremely low expectations for Anthony Rizzo. I think he'll be better than Ben Rice was for the last few weeks. But I think next year Ben Rice will be the clear better player.
Yeah. I mean, okay, wait. Sorry, I was stalling because now I have a trivia question for you. Then this is so unrelated, but it is kind of a little related.
Okay.
So, since the beginning of the season, in the year of our Lord 2024, Aaron Judge has a 220 WRC plus. Juan Soto has a 181. They're tops of the league. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot of names at the top of the list. Kyle Tucker, Bobby Witt, Yordan Alvarez. There's a few names that stand out, and this is minimum 100 plate appearances. But who is tied for 13th? Actually, they're like 1 point off of being top 10 in Major League Baseball. It's a very random question, but I'll give you a hint. His last name relates to the last name of someone that we just talked about.
Oh, see, I was gonna guess Tyler Fitzgerald.
Actually, if I turn this to American League, this is like me playing with Okay. Wait, let me wait. I can make this a better question. Hold on.
Okay.
So Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Kyle Tucker, Bobby Witt, Yordan Alvarez, Brent Rooker, Vlad Guerrero, Matt Wallner, random, Kerry Carpenter. So it's less cool because there's another random guy. Who is 10th in the league in WRC plus?
So it's minimum 100 plate appearances.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of the season.
I'll give you more of a hint.
In the American League.
AL Central outfielder.
AL Central outfielder. Minimum 100 plate appearances. And what's his WRC plus?
158. He's being like blown up by MLB social media right now. He's a really fun player to watch.
Oh, is it Big Christmas? Kenzie Noel? Oh, I love Big Christmas.
Literally, we're like, the first time we were watching, I was like, if this guy like runs into a ball, like I feel like he has no idea where the ball is, but if he touches the ball, it's going out. And then that's when he hit a home run against the Yankees. So yeah, they're continuing the Noel theme.
Dude,
he's been a really good hitter this year.
And Lawrence Butler are 2 of my favorite baseball players. They're both
Matt Wallner kind of ruined the question because like he's not the only, but like there we go. Big Christmas. I love it. He's getting blown up on MLB social media. And so now we've talked with 2 players with the last name Noel.
Big Christmas and Rich Christmas should get together for lunch or something.
Yes. Like the Giants.
Exactly. All right, Whipple. We've talked about left field. We've talked about the pitching staff.
Oh, and we better believe the Yankees, we're going to be on the Yankees need a trade for a big Christmas beat this winter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Lawrence Butler. The guy we have to talk about is Austin Wells. Austin Wells leads American League rookies in Fangraphs WAR. at 3.4. He's tied to the 10th decimal place with Colton Cowser. Sorry, just give me one moment here because I want to make sure I'm talking about this accurately. He trails only Big Christmas and Wilyer Abreu in WRC Plus for rookies with at least 100 plate appearances in the AL. He naturally is tied with Big Christmas for the lead in expected weighted on base. Ben Rice is third. The thing that sticks out to me about Austin Wells, and this is also a credit to Wilyer Abreu, who is having a very good season in his own right, is Cowser has 469 plate appearances. Colt Keith, who is up there on the WAR leaderboard, has 473. Austin Wells only has 336 plate appearances. He's appeared in 95 games, and yet he's racked up 3.4 WAR, a 121 WRC plus. His offense honestly should still just continue trending up with his quality of contact and how unlucky he's gotten relative to it. I don't know if I think Austin Wells is going to win Rookie of the Year. I think people really like Colton Cowser, and if he wins it, he would be a deserving winner. But Austin Wells has put together an incredible campaign. And the thing that I want to focus on is I keep hearing that the Yankees aren't deploying him optimally. The Yankees have gotten more value from the catching position than any other team. Austin Wells is having a phenomenal year. He is consistently put in a position to succeed. I find it really weird when people have all these gripes about how Austin Wells is used and the Yankees are ruining his development because they're not letting him face lefties often enough and all this stuff. It's like, look, it kind of feels to me like letting Jose Trevino and Austin Wells cook in their respective situations in which they're both put in positions to do well is kind of a very reasonable way to operate.
Yeah. Also, they're not letting him catch. They're not letting him catch left or play against lefties or whatever. He started 5 of 6 games this week, which is like crazy for a catcher. Like starting all 3 games in a series, I just I feel like that says a lot more than he didn't play against the odd lefty. And even in the game against Washington that he didn't play, he came in and pinch hit.
Yeah.
So the week before he played in half the games. Like there's a limit to how much catchers are going to play. And I get that people want him to DH when he's not playing, but that's just unrealistic for the way that you need to deploy your catchers. So I think, see what continues going forward. But to me, I feel like they've upped his usage, pretty remarkably in the last week and a half or so.
They definitely have. And acting like he's not been treated as the primary catcher is getting out of hand.
I mean, the defense for him though, he was not supposed to be this good defensively. And I think
he was not supposed to stick at catcher in the major leagues. It's not just that he wasn't supposed to be a good defender and he's been an elite one. He was not supposed to stick at the catcher position. People were talking about outfield and first base for him. And now he's one of the best defensive catchers in the league and one of the best offensive catchers in the league. And that is incredible. And it is a testament to what the Yankees have done, at least on the catching side, in player development. And he's been a phenomenal hitter. I mean, the Austin Wells story is an absolute unqualified success.
Yeah, and I think given where the Yankees were at catcher last year, I mean, they were middle of the pack with Trevino and Higashioka, and it's just been such a positive for this team. And both players contribute to that too. So one of the success spots of the year for sure. And I hope he wins Rookie of the Year. I mean, definitely, since April, he clearly deserves it. And you're right that a lot of people, I think, are putting Cowser as the odds-on favorite. And there's a lot of competition, with people, war-wise, in a similar range where no one's really differentiated themselves. So maybe we get something like a, split voting and someone like Wilyer Abreu comes out of nowhere to win it. But if the trend lines continue the way they do and Austin Wells has a big September and, I just feel like that really, the end of the year, the way that he finished really since April, I hope that is what sticks in voters' minds and they understand the defensive nuances.
I hope so too. And I want to point out the Yankees are 5th in WRC plus, 3rd in WRC plus in the AL, and 1st in Fangraphs WAR from catchers, a full win ahead of the next closest AL team. So the idea that they're doing something wrong in the way that they deploy these guys is just plainly ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed.
Whipple, we're 50 minutes in. I got to get this edited and posted so I can go watch Garrett Cole pitch against Jack Leiter tonight in, what is that, like the Anthony Volpe Bowl? Two Del Barton guys going against each other, and Leiter and Volpe at Globe Life tonight. So before we wrap up, we got to do confidence. It's been a rocky road. Pecota still has the Yankees as the top team in the AL, second in World Series odds to the Dodgers, 2/3 chance to win the division. Fangraphs has, I think, the highest World Series odds for the Yankees. Out of 10, where you at?
I mean, it's still anyone's division. It's still anyone's league. And I feel like that I'm absolutely floored that it looks like the AL East is going to be won with, between 94 and 96 wins, because that really, like, I would have never have said that at the beginning.
Yeah, it normally takes like 100.
Right. So, that maybe that's out of the Yankees' control, but I think you can be more confident in them based on the fact that, that's the position they sit in. Just like another year, 2012, where the division was won with 95 wins.
Yep.
We're recreating history here.
Maximum 2012.
Max 2012. So I'm going to go down to 8.5, and I think maybe there's room to go down still, but at this point, everyone's kind of holding serve, in the division, and the Yankees are not going to play another week with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto basically contributing nothing. So I think that helps the confidence a little bit, but the pitching staff has got to do better. Like, that is without a question my biggest concern right now. And I think Garrett Cole needs to shove tonight in Texas, and hopefully, that kicks off a good road trip. The September schedule is certainly not easy with road trips and I think tough matchups at home, but the team's got to, you got to come together at some point. The offense is doing its job. I mean, that's all I'll say right now. So if the pitching staff keep pitching like this, I think the confidence will go lower.
Yeah, I think I'm at an 8.5 only because, as you said, like, a big part of what we saw this week was Judge and Soto being absent. And they could have survived some of the pitching woes had Judge and Soto made themselves more visible. And I think that will be a big part of what determines their level of playoff success. I've said before, as go Soto and Judge, so will go the Yankees. This week, it kind of felt like as goes the pitching staff, so will go the Yankees. But I think Judge and Soto can cover up a lot of blemishes on the pitching staff if they can remotely keep it together. And we didn't see that this week, but I expect that we'll see it in the future. So I'm at an 8.5 as well. And I'm excited to see Garrett Cole pitch for the first time in a while at Globe Life tonight. I think it'll be really cool. I'm excited to see Judge return to the place where he hit his 60-second home run and have a 4-homer game, or, whatever he's going to do. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see Corey Seager, who should probably be a Yankee. No, I'm only kidding. But yeah, it's it's been a few months since I've gotten to see the Yankees play, and I'm excited about it. Whipple, with that, we're going to wrap things up. Any parting shots before we do?
I feel like we didn't talk about Austin Wells enough, in the sense that we didn't mention the best part of the Austin Wells week, the TikTok that came out.
The TikTok was something else, man.
I feel like, it's a point of pride that while other teams' players put themselves in situations by public comments or stuff, old tweets or stuff that they said, our catcher is a social media legend in the most wholesome way. And I love that he changed his walk-up music to that. I just love everything about Austin Wells. And the Somerset Patriots recreated the video with their mascot. Like, it was definitely,
that's awesome.
I think it was a clear highlight of the week. And listen, like, Austin Wells just has good energy, even if he's not hitting. But when he's winning games with his bat, I think he's just going to be a key part of this team for years to come. So I'm super excited about that. And yeah, I just, we got to talk about the wholesome stuff in addition to the stuff that's not so good, on social media. So definitely love seeing that.
Shout out Austin Wells. All right, Whipple, that wraps things up. People can find us, as always, on yankeesfiles.com for everything we do. They can find us on Twitter, where we are at Yankees Files. Podcast is available wherever you get your podcast. Can you believe we're 122 episodes in? We hope that if you enjoy the podcast, you'll rate, review, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff to interact with us. We hope if you don't enjoy it, you'll just download it, listen to it on silent on like 2x speed a bunch of times, juice those numbers. The whole video podcast is available for our Spotify listeners and also goes up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@crosstownsports, where you can also see the Battle of New York with Joey, Caroline, Rich, Matt, sometimes Austin, and all those folks. You can follow the Crosstown Sports Twitter at CrosstownSN. And that's going to wrap things up. Whipple, as I mentioned when we started the podcast off, it's September 2nd, and the Irish are undefeated. That was a great game that I got to attend at Kyle Field on Saturday night. We will be back, similar time, similar place, with me in a further different location, I'm sure, next week. And until then, let's go Yankees.